Hello. Welcome to the In Love with Business podcast. This miniseries is titled Chief Sustainability Heroes and is hosted by Professor Paolo Melina and Melina Corvalia-Shore from University College London, School of Management. Throughout this series, we will talk to sustainability leaders from different organizations and sectors to learn about their sustainability journeys. We will ask them about their career paths, the challenges they encountered in implementing complex strategies of sustainable transformation, and what inspired them along the way. We will also ask what advice they would offer to aspiring chief sustainability officers. Enjoy the episode.
Today, we are pleased to welcome to our podcast show Christophe Quiquempoix, Vice President of Sustainable Procurement at Schneider Electric. Schneider Electric is the global industrial technology leader, bringing world-leading expertise in many fields, including electrification, automation, digitization of smart industries, resilient infrastructure, data centers, intelligent buildings, and you name it. It's a very big organization. The organization has an even bigger ecosystem made of 150,000 colleagues, more than 1 million partners. Wow, that's a big number. Operating in over 100 countries to ensure proximity to customers and stakeholders. Christophe joined Schneider Electric in 2011 as a business unit procurement vice president. And since joining the company, he has held several roles in the business, always related to procurement. And in 2021, he stepped into the role of Vice President of Sustainable Procurement, leading the company's global procurement strategy. Before that, he basically worked for HP, again covering different global roles in sourcing, procurement, and then supply chain. Christophe, it's really a pleasure to have you in our podcast show. I guess we are looking forward to discuss the topic of sustainability and procurement with you today.
Sure.
And as my first question to you, I would like to ask you to tell us a little bit more about your background and how you basically entered the field of sustainability, which is basically what you do today.
Yeah, well, thank you, Paolo, and extremely happy to be with you today in this the podcast. So, as you said, I started my career at HP as an R&D engineer. I finished my engineering degrees in telecommunication, and I spent there about 20 wonderful years of my life. So 5 years as R&D engineer, moving then naturally to procurement. I would say naturally because we were starting the journey of outsourcing, decided to move to another country, moved to California, where I had different supply chain and procurement position, and came back to Europe. And honestly, it's a company I was looking to do all of my career. But all of a sudden, Schneider came in and contacted me. I honestly didn't know Schneider, but what really catch my attention was, I knew the name of Schneider Electric, but I didn't know the details. But what really catch my attention and my interest is to be able to join a company that the financial results are tightly coupled with the positive impact on the planet. And when I discovered that, it was really the tipping point that made me choose to join Schneider Electric. To be able to match, you come to an age in which the purpose start to be much more important than anything else, and having the opportunity to be able to contribute was really what made me change the company. Now, to join Schneider Electric, I had to leave HP, Hewlett-Packard, so that was a tough decision. But I would say, and I often say that with people I interview and so on, the reason that made me join Schneider Electric, since 13 years I've been in the company, I never regret. Every day I can relay, I can confirm that the reason why I joined the company are still extremely alive with me. So very happy to be in sustainability, in one of the sustainability leader, being Schneider Electric, and being able to impact and to contribute to sustainability.
Fantastic. And I guess if we can kind of go deeper, what kind of really inspired you into the role? Because I guess it's clear from your curriculum that you had this progression of roles in procurement, but at a certain point there was this convergence on the topic of sustainability. So what was the driver? Why not remaining in traditional procurement if traditional procurement still exists?
We deserve a whole different podcast. There are two sides. There are two sides of it, and which are important. It's procurement and sustainability, and the two combined. But let me focus on sustainability. And honestly, I asked myself the question a while ago: why am I so attracted to sustainability? And when I thought about that, it really goes back to a long time ago when I was much younger. And since I'm a kid, since I'm a child, I hate to waste. I fundamentally hate to waste. I hate to waste my food. I hate to waste my time. I hate to waste anything. So I think this is where I would say, sustainability approach are really rooted. It's on the fact that I hated to waste. Second point, I've been always be close to nature. I've been always living in the countryside, surrounded by farms. When I was a kid, still now. The toughest time in my life is when I had to live in the city. So I saw, looking around me, especially now I'm living in the Alps, in the French Alps. Looking around, you really see the impact of non-sustainability, or the impact of climate warming. But we'll come back to that. Then you can say, back to your question, why now and not before? I think you come to an age, as I was alluding to earlier, you come to an age in which you want to make something, you want to leave a footprint, you want to positively contribute to a purpose. And I mean, this is really what motivates me to say, this is really what I want to do. This is really where I can the most. And it starts with, first start back in my life a long time ago with very small thing, trying when I was buying a car, the car that would consume the less fuel. Now, of course, I switched to electric cars since a while after a hybrid car. Hate wasting my food, I told you, but this is still, I'm still paranoid about that. Still sure that I'm buying enough for my consumption, my family consumption. Buying local. The only meat I'm buying, yes, I'm not vegetarian yet, so I know that's still a way to progress. But it's only buying meat which is raised at 2 kilometers away from my home. The same for yogurt. It's bought in another farm very close to my home. So all of those little things. I built a home. I put everything I could. That was like 17 years ago. I put everything I could to improve I told you I hate to waste. I hate to waste the energy as well. So I put everything I could to make it sustainable and trying to make as low consumption as possible. Collecting rainwater for part of my usage at home, like the washing machine. It's all of those little things that can make an impact. Now, the place where I spend most of my awake time is at work. So you come to an age in which you want to feel the same fulfillment or the same impact you have. So this is why I came to sustainability, and the reason why I joined 13 years ago, and the reason why in 21 I took this full-time position in sustainable procurement.
Fantastic. And I guess what I like what you said is that the topic of sustainable development is so complex and brings together so many stakeholders that yes, we need to address it at the level of business and corporates. Yes, we need to address it at the level of governments, but we can't forget the individual role we can play and we should play. So I kind of it's important also to walk the talk at an individual level.
Yeah.
This is to me very important. And by the way, a tip for anybody that want to interview for a position in my team, this is a question I will always ask: is I want to check the passion behind sustainability and not just someone applying because it's fashionable. Sustainability, everybody's speaking about it. It needs to be rooted deeply into your way of working, I would say.
Value system.
Way of living in your value system. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like from what you just told us that your own personal supply chain is very close to home as much as possible, which is great. Yes. So if going back to your role at Schneider Electric, how would you define the role of leading the sustainable procurement global supply chain, given especially the size? Like as Paolo mentioned at the top in the introduction, you have more than 1 million partners in 100 countries. So if you can just tell us a little bit more about that in your role.
I'll try to be short. So, but first, a couple of words about Schneider Electric. So, as you said, Schneider Electric is a leader in sustainability and digital. So we provide energy and automation digital solution for efficiency and sustainability. And the own purpose of the company is to create impact by empower all to make the most of our energy and resources, bridging progress and sustainability for all. Now, my role, sustainable procurement, my team's role, basically what we're doing is accelerating the sustainability agenda of our suppliers. And we look really across the board, 3 legs of ESG. We look into environmental, into social human rights, and into governance. So we have programs like decarbonization programs with our suppliers, like green materials, sustainable packaging, or on the social and human rights side, we have the Decent Work program, we have the social excellence, and on the governance, it's basically what glues everything together. So this is basically what we do day in, day out in my team.
Okay, great. And so Paolo and I have had the pleasure of sitting down with many leaders from different sectors and different industries. And so we hear about the challenges, especially when it comes to supply chain. Or what's referred to often as scope 3 for many organizations. So can you tell us what are some of the most significant challenges that you're seeing across the supply chain within your company or perhaps, your sector? And how you navigate those challenges.
Yeah. So first of all, I will probably state the obvious, but we don't say it enough. I mean, climate crisis is one of the biggest challenges that we need to fight, that we need to contribute. Now, the problem is that when we speak about sustainability, people directly think about that, and so sustainability equals to global warming, and we need to fight against that. The issues that I have with this is that there is a lot of other aspects that we need to tackle because they are degrading year over year. Workers' condition, human rights, pollution. So one of the challenge is we need to be on all front of those fights, if I may say, at the same time, and we may, depending on the questions, we may come back to that in later during this podcast. But we should not push one at the expense of the other, and this is very very critical. I'll take you an example. To fight the global warming, there is a certain amount, a list of material, what we call critical material, has been defined as well by the International Energy Agency, that, like copper, nickel, cobalt, that we know the demand is going to triple by 2030. We know that those materials are existing in places with a rich biodiversity, where indigenous people are living. And we know that the extraction and processing of those are not always being done, being careful with what I say, with the right level of working condition and even sometimes violating human rights. So on one side, we need those materials because to fight against the climate crisis, but we need to be equally, if not more, focused as well on the way we get access to those materials. So favor recycling, heavily recycling, but also being involved in ensuring that not only our direct suppliers, but the suppliers of our suppliers are respecting the minimum level or the maximum level, I would say, of social condition, working condition, labor conditions, and of course, respecting all of the basic human rights. So that's definitely, I would say, a challenge. Another one, and it's cross-industry, I would say, we see a lot of regulation. So don't take me wrong, regulation are needed. So CSRD, CES, Triple D, and so on, absolutely, absolutely needed. The new battery regulation, the EUDR, and I could continue to with those regulations. They are absolutely needed. But what concerns me is that I often hear it as being an excuse for people to slow down their actions. And to me, reporting is one thing, but acting is much more important at the same time. So yes, implementing all those regulations is critical, needed. We will have to invest more resources to at least get it on the track, but it's in no way an excuse to slow down the actions that we have to take to solve those issues. Not only reporting, but solving those issues. But and maybe I'm doing a too big answer to your question. But looking at the other side, one of the challenge that I see as well is, and this is, I see a lot of people sometimes desperate about their actions. And I think that's the biggest challenge, is that we don't have to lose hope, because every fraction of degree counts if we speak about global warming. So any actions that we can have to contribute is important. So we should not mentally giving up. We should never give up on what we're doing, because whatever small action we can take as a corporation, we can take as an individual, is going to have a positive impact. And you know, I hear, let's speak about the climate crisis. I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, the path to 1.5 degrees is over. We won't never achieve it." But guess what? A world at 2 degrees, it's better than a world at plus 2.5 degrees, and a world at plus 2.5 degrees is better than a world at 3 degrees. So we need to stay focused and extremely pragmatic in what we're doing. That's definitely one. I mean, I would say, cross-industry challenge. Now, if I'm looking to my industry, because you asked me to answer sense as well. One of the biggest one is the one that I already mentioned. It's the dilemma of fighting the climate crisis, for example, and at the same time ensuring that we don't do that at the expense of impacting negatively the labor condition or human rights. We need to drive everything at the same time at the same speed, I would say. Another thing that I would like to add into that, and I'm trying to find the correct words, but again, remember, I hate waste. So when I see our industry, I mean, Schneider Electric, other companies doing similar business, I see a lot of waste in the system, because we're all trying to achieve the same things with the similar set of suppliers or a lot of common suppliers. But we do all this in silos, contacting the suppliers for the same stuff, but yet a little bit different, making, by the way, the life of our suppliers totally miserable. So one of the challenge as well is that we need to overcome those barriers. We need to break the silos. We need to work hand in hand in the same industry, building coalition to address sustainability. Again, the clock is ticking, so there is no time to waste, and wasting our energy by repeating what each other is doing and making the life of our suppliers totally miserable.
Right.
It's something that we absolutely need to stop. One last point, but definitely not of the least one, at least in our industry, I would say it's the shortage of talents in sustainability. Lots of people that want to contribute, but definitely a shortage of talents in that field. Sorry, I was a little bit long, but
No. This was very interesting to hear, Christophe, and especially, I guess, the last point you made about shortage of talent is also, I guess, a reflection point for us, for example, universities, in terms of how we can, assist business better in terms of educating people, young people, with the right talent, with the right expertise that we need for these type of journeys of change. So this was very interesting to hear. I do have a question for you, Christophe, because something we have learned from these interviews, and I guess we had no doubts on that in the first place, but it's kind of really the complexity of these initiatives, the complexity of driving a change in very big organizations, and I guess it is difficult to transform your own organization. But when you start looking at an entire supply chain where you have thousands and thousands of suppliers, I guess you really raise the challenge to a different level in a way.
Yes.
So I guess from a leadership perspective, what are the critical skills for someone in your type of position?
Well, it's a good question. Let me state the obvious. Let me go first on the hard skills, and I go on the soft skills after. On the hard skills, of course, I would say a good knowledge of the different thematics that we need to address, good understanding of the mechanism of the climate crisis, good understanding of the biodiversity, good understanding of the human rights, good understanding of social aspect, worker conditions. And when I say we need to keep a good balance to address what I was telling you earlier. So when I was mentioning that we have shortage of skills, is that I think the ideal person is someone that will have some knowledge in each of those thematics, I would say. So this is for the first part of the hard skill. Another one I would say that I would also put into the hard skills is about being able to manage very complex situation and try to transform it as simple as possible. Go down to earth. Be pragmatic, because this is the best way to address it. Moving to the soft skills, one critical one, and I often joke in my team with this, especially when I'm interviewing people. It's about resiliency. When we embarked in our ambitious program back in 2021, we're doing great in all of the different programs today, but we had a lot of reasons to give up during that journey. A lot of reasons to give up. Sometimes you get the feeling that you're in front of the Everest and you don't have the energy to climb to the summit. So resilience is extremely, extremely important. We often say in Schneider Electric that sustainability is a marathon without a finish line. We're deep into marathon in Schneider Electric. We've been organizing for more than 10 years now, the Paris Marathon. So it's to a lot of people when we say that. Another one, so resiliency, but also passion. And this is absolutely critical to me to work in sustainability. You need to have this fire inside you. I'm extremely lucky to be leading a team in which this fire is amazing in any of my colleagues working in sustainable procurement. So it's fantastic to be surrounded by those passionate people. Maybe a last one, because I could go on and on. About resilience, I spoke about passion, but also another soft skills. I don't know if it's a skill, but it's to be paranoid, because anything can happen when you work on sustainability. So you need to be prepared for the worst. I've been raised in my days in HP under, you probably know Andy Grove, who used to be the CEO of Intel, and he wrote this book, Only the Paranoid Survive. And this is mentally what I keep as well, that I'm trying to translate into sustainability. Being ready to manage, to answer any tough situation that's going to happen to you, anything of impossible that would happen to you, you need to be able to manage it. So
Yeah,
be prepared for that.
and me and you, Christophe, connected a while ago in the occasion of a very nice guest lecture you gave at UCL, and I was really impressed by the agenda of Schneider Electric and the range of initiatives that you have set in motion in order to transform procurement at Schneider. So I guess if you should pick one, which one is an initiative that I guess is particularly meaningful to you, something that you are particularly proud of?
You're too tough on me, because one is about. Allow me to mention two, because I want to keep the balance between environmental and social and human rights. So
go ahead.
That's fair. That's fair.
One in the environmental I would take, and it's probably known of some people listening to this. It's the what we call the Zero Carbon Project. Mm-hmm. So this was the project we launched in 2021 to decarbonize our top 1,000 suppliers. So we took back, when I say we, our CEO took a commitment in early 2021 saying that we will be reducing the operational emission of our top 1,000 suppliers by 50% by 2025. Huge ambition, bold objective. And we didn't have all of the answers. We actually had very few answers when we started that project. But at the time we started, the reason why I want to highlight it is that when we started this project, we did a maturity assessment of our suppliers, and more than 70%, about 720 out of those top 1,000 suppliers, were totally new to decarbonization. So by essence, already this was a huge success, because now we have more than 1,008 suppliers that are fully engaged into decarbonization. And what is amazing with this program is that we've been building a very extensive support infrastructure, of course, giving trainings to the suppliers, giving individual support. I've been hiring people in each of the regions that can go on site at the supplier to help them find solutions to decarbonize. We've been introducing digital tools. We've been helping them to get access to renewable energy. We've been focusing a totally different scope to SMEs, because 2/3 of our suppliers were SMEs. So developing a tool for SMEs, helping them to accelerate, not only focusing on the big corporation, but also on the one that needs the most of the support, I would say. So all this to result that into this program that we achieve, we are getting closer gradually to the 40% towards the end of the year. So in good path, I would say, to reach the 50% by 2025. So this is one program in which I would say I'm proud, but I'm equally, if not more proud of a program which is on the S side of the ESG, which is called Decent Work. And why? It's because we're driving very transformational behavior on social side on that program. We've been defining the decent work following the ILO, International Labour Organization, in 10 pillars, 67, 68 checkpoints that goes from basic things like modern slavery, child labor, in which we're asking for remediation. We're not just, of course, saying that it's forbidden, that everybody needs to comply to this, but asking for remediation plan and so on. But we're touching some much more advanced thematic like living wage. Living wage, which is way above, for people that knows, the minimum legal wage in some of the countries. I mean, in some of the countries, you have a ratio from 1 to 10. We driving thematics around diversity, equity, and inclusions. We driving non-gender family care. So all of those advanced thematics that suppliers are not used to hear, and definitely less used to have a customer asking them to be compliant with all of those requirements, I would say. And the program is actually accelerating quite well right now. So I would say those are two programs that I'm extremely proud of. Yes.
Those are fantastic. And excuse me, just regarding the first program that you mentioned about just the tall task of decarbonizing 1,000 suppliers, I can imagine is a Herculean task. So can you maybe elaborate for us a little bit more? Because this was an area that was a significant challenge, both on the environmental side and the social side, as you said. But when it comes to supply chain, gathering data was a really big challenge for many organizations, small and large. So can you just tell us a little bit more about the resources, so the tools and resources that you use, both internally maybe to organize your team, but also externally to help suppliers?
Yeah. So speaking of resources, I will first focus on people,
Sure.
most important, and then maybe on digital tools and so on. But in terms of resources, we're working extremely closely with our corporate sustainability team. So the people who have the expertise in the different thematics of sustainability, and this is how we've been defining the way we would be addressing it. We also extremely lucky that we have been starting that journey in our own premises. You mentioned in the introduction, we have 150 factories around the globe. We have 80 distribution centers. All of those have been starting to, the sustainability journey, a long time ago. So all this expertise has been able to be shared, I would say, with our suppliers as well. What is important as well is that when you launch a program like this, it cannot be the objective and the work of a small group of people, experts in a corner, that they are the only one who knows.
Waving a wand.
You need to embark everybody into that journey. So I can say that in Schneider Electric we are around 1,500 people in procurement. Everybody has sustainability in their objective. To go one step further as well, every employees that have a bonus have their bonus impacted by our performance on sustainability. We took about 11 commitments back in 2021. I mentioned two of them earlier. So every quarter we publish the results on those 11 commitments. And at the end of the year, it impacts the bonus of everybody who has a variable scheme in their wages. So, but it also goes with, when I say embarking all, of course, objective, of course, bonus, but it's also the way you present things. So, for example, something very simple that we're doing right now, every time we speak, or at least it's been mandated, I did not verify that it is done by everybody, but every time we speak to suppliers during a quarterly business review and executive business review, the first topic that we put on the table is sustainability. So it shows clearly to our suppliers how important it is. So this is about resources and the way we're working. Then, in terms of other resources, we've been putting a lot of digital tools in the hands of our suppliers. So, of course, a portal in which the suppliers find all of the thought leadership articles, recording of all of the trainings that we have. We have been providing a digital emission calculator. We have another tool I was speaking earlier about, dedicated for the SMEs, a dedicated tool that the SMEs can use to compute the carbon footprint, to set a target, then to recommend certain levers of decarbonization, and even assist the user of the tool to go and find a solution provider for a specific action. We've been providing also renewable access to renewables, so training the suppliers on renewable, but also giving them free consulting to get access to renewables. And also, which is more important, I told you 2/3 of our suppliers engaged in this program are SMEs. So, which means that their electricity consumption in one region may not be sufficient to get access to PPA, power purchase agreement. So we put them together in a cohort that makes a consumption big enough for them to get access to attract basically an investor and attract a utility that will be creating additionality on the grid. So lots of resources that we've been putting available. What is critical when you want to accelerate the sustainability agenda of your suppliers is you should not throw that on their lap and say, I'm asking and you do. No. I mean, this is the most stupid way of addressing it. You need to take them by the hand. You need to support them. And some of them don't need my support, don't need my team support. I'm not trying to say that everybody, but you need to support them. It's a collaboration. It's a journey that we go into it together. So extensive support infrastructure is definitely needed if you want to accelerate. And we see the results. I mean, in the different programs I was mentioning, but I got several suppliers telling me that now, for example, when we speak about decarbonization, every of the customers is asking for decarbonizing. But they say what makes you, Schneider Electric, stand out is that you have been one of the few, if not one of the only one, helping us in achieving that goal. So you create a much better relationship with your supplier, long-lasting and strategic relationship that will beneficiate mutually the business relationship.
Okay.
And what I'm glad, Camino, you say this because what you have described is literally the findings of a research paper I published 8 years ago that was on the topic of...
You should have read that before.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to send it to you to see if it's still, valid and modern. But so the title of the paper was Governance Mechanisms for Sustainable Supply Chain Management.
Yes.
And in the paper, we analyzed basically how a number of large organizations were basically, the type of mechanisms that they were using to transform their supply chains. And basically, at the end, what we found and what we were suggesting in the paper is that what seems to work is a good mix of formal and informal, collaborative and non-collaborative mechanisms that need to come together to basically, really influence the supply chain. But the use of collaborative mechanisms is really, key for long-term success. So I appreciate that probably, you really demonstrated a good leadership in terms of that collaborative behavior. Something I wanted to ask you, Christophe, also conscious of time, is I do have maybe a couple of questions, but one is this one. We discussed with many speakers in the show, how you organize for sustainability, what the team looks like. If you basically, build the capabilities more in-house or you use a more external consultants. What is your take on that?
So how should the organization look like globally?
Yeah, exactly. From an organization perspective, a structure perspective,
So
in terms of...
I will not give an exhaustive answer, and I will be focusing in the second part of my answer more into sustainable procurement. But globally, I would say in terms of sustainability, what is paramount to me, sustainability needs to report to the highest level in the company. So the chief, to name a cat, the chief sustainable officer needs to report to the CEO. That is very critical. It needs to be at the core of everything the company is doing.
This has been repeated by many.
Yes, it's a theme we're hearing.
It's obvious then, but it goes without saying, but it goes better when you say it.
Yes.
Correct.
So this is for sustainability. I will not describe the fact that in Schneider Electric, then it percolates into the entire organization. So in supply chain, you have a sustainability group. In R&D, you have dedicated sustainability group. In procurement, you have a dedicated sustainability group. In finance, and so on. So it's important that then, it's not the focus or the sole work of a few experts, but that it really goes into your entire organization. And in my team, the way we decided to structure it, it's very basic. We have 3 groups. One group, which is what I call the foundational programs. So things that if you do this, you don't do the basic, but you still need a very solid group to do it. So it is stating what you want from the suppliers in terms of sustainability, going with your contractual term, your supply code of conduct, and so on. Eliminating the ESG risk of your supply chain and driving the ESG performance. This is what we call our foundational structure. You then have one part which is compliance. So it's everything that goes with the different regulation, REACH, ROS, conflict mineral, the reporting compliance, CSRD, the vigilance programs with the CSDDD and so on. And then a big part of my team is in the transformational initiatives. I mentioned some of them, like the Zero Carbon Project, like the Green Material, Sustainable Packaging, Social Excellence, Decent Work, in which I have a dedicated program manager that is animating a global team in the different regions. I would say, I would stop here, but this is the way I would see for sustainable procurement.
Okay, great. Yeah.
In mind, I want to repeat that then it needs to be carried by everybody in the organization as well.
Yeah.
So it's important, very important. If I go down into procurement, so the people that are managing the relationship with the supplier, what we call supplier leaders, they need to carry the message of sustainability to the suppliers. It cannot be brought by someone of my team who is unknown by the suppliers coming in the discussion, at a given time and say, oh, now we're going to speak about sustainability. No. It doesn't mean that everybody in each function needs to be an expert. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. But it needs people need to have the enough level of knowledge to carry on the message. Then the experts can help and support the supplier.
Yeah.
Great. And Christophe, when you think about the challenges facing the world today, and based on your experience and throughout the course of your career, are you optimistic about the future and the role that business can play in creating a better world?
If I'm optimistic?
Yes.
I'm an extremely optimistic person. So I'm absolutely optimistic about the fact that we can and we are impacting the world. And I would say, I will use a bigger word. It's more impacting humanity, because the world's going to be there with or without us. Everything we're doing in sustainability is to improve I would say, the humankind or the humanity in the world. I've one of the kind of person who is extremely optimistic. Often my sons are saying way too optimistic. When something is done, Daddy, you have to stop. I say, no, in the last second, I can make it change. So yes, I'm extremely optimistic, but now a little bit more seriously optimistic as well, because I can see in my own ecosystem that when you want, you can influence the world. You can make changes. And again, it does not need, I'm using big words by saying changing the world, but changing the world is also in your own actions, behavior on that topic. For me, going to buy my meat 2 kilometers in a farm has a positive impact. Not because I'm going by foot or my bicycle only, but I mean, it has impact because of local, because I know how the animals are raised, how they are managed, and so on. So it is, yes, optimistic, absolutely. Optimistic as well, because now if I go technically, if we speak about, let's take again the example of decarbonization, all the solution exists today. It's a question of resources, but more so a question of willingness.
And Christophe, just one final question for you. We know that this podcast is kind of followed by young people, practitioners at the beginning of their careers. People passionate about the topic of sustainability who probably aspire one day to have a position in business similar to yours. What is your advice to those people, to those who are starting a careers in sustainability or are keen to progress in their journeys, professionally speaking?
Go full steam. Jump into it. I mean, we need a lot of passionate people to drive the sustainability, because again, as I said, the impact is obvious. We can all impact. The more we're going to be focused on it, the better. The beauty of going full steam, it's extremely fulfilling work, I would say. I mean, every morning, my colleagues, myself, when we wake up, we don't ask ourselves why we wake up. We don't ask ourselves why we work so long hours. We know why. And it's so, I would say, rewarding. But at the same time, one of the recommendations I would give is be obsessed by action over perfection. What is critical, it's not to go perfect, but it's to make an impact today, not wait tomorrow, not wait tonight. Do an impact today and be able to have a positive impact on humanity again. I think I will stop here. I could go on and on. I could repeat about the skills.
Yeah.
At the same time, maybe let me finish with this one. Be resilient as well. Don't be disappointed if you don't see the impact so obviously
immediately
of what you're doing. And if I may, I would quote a sentence of Mark Twain that I'm often repeating with my team. it's the sentence says they did it because they didn't know it was impossible. And this is illustrate perfectly the journey in which we engage back in 2021 with our different programs that I've been giving as an example.
Yeah, and I'm very thankful that you dedicated us some time, Christophe, because we have been doing this show for a while now, and I, as part of my work line of work, I get to meet a lot of impressive sustainability leaders. And it is exciting, to see corporations changing. But I have to say that the type of work that Schneider Electric has been doing and the achievements at the supply chain level are, truly remarkable. I believe, you really, set the bar very high for others to follow in the context of sustainable procurement and sustainable supply chain management. And we need this. We need good examples to follow. We need to understand what is the emerging best practice for certain things. So thank you very much for sharing that with us today. Congratulations for the good work. And because it's Christmas time, we wish you and your family a very Merry Christmas. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Paolo. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed this discussion, we invite you to like and share this episode on your social media. Enjoy the rest of your day.